Basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station.
So, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Good evening and welcome to Straight Up. It's 8 minutes after 9 o'clock. My name is Mark Benshop. We're going to rock and roll just for about an hour this evening. Lots of things we want to discuss. And I know it's not a pretty good day in Guyana. Lots and lots of bad things are happening or have happened. And lots of questions. Lots and lots of questions. But yet those who are in the corridors of power, so to speak, continue to do a lot of questionable things. For example, what is it? A 1 month so-called tax bonus, which amounts to nothing. 6.5 salary increase, nothing at all again. All of these things happening in beautiful Guyana, apart from the 5 members of the Guyana Defense Force who have lost their lives. We today learned of the news that Clyde Butts, former Guyana and West Indies off spinner, has died this afternoon in an accident. Lots and lots of things this evening. Well, tonight, attorney at law Shellen Washington is with us. Public accountant Wayne Caesar is also with us. Good evening, lady and gentlemen.
Good evening to you, Mark, and good evening to everyone listening in tonight. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Pleasant good evening, Mark. Good evening, Shellen, and good evening to all our listeners and viewers.
All right, Ms. Washington, we haven't had a chance to discuss this here as it pertains to the deaths of these 5 military officers. Well, 1 staff sergeant, but the deaths of the senior members, including, of course, Staff Sergeant Jason Khan. Uh, your take, because the investigation has not started as yet, but what the regime wants us to think that this was as a result of bad weather. What is your reflection on the passing of these five military officers?
First of all, I want to say condolences to the family and friends of those five that died or perished in that helicopter crash. And secondly, I want to say with the advancement of technology, I seriously doubt that this would have been an act of the weather. If we're so advanced in terms of technology, we have radars, we have various ways of knowing what the weather condition is and being able to maneuver around those conditions. It is very sad at such a time that this type of accident would occur, and then the government of Guyana would make such a statement. I would say Venezuela may have had its hands in this accident, but so far we don't know because we don't have all of the information we need at this time. We can only speculate, and to suffer such a blow at a very perilous time. It's ridiculous, and the government of Ghana ought to take accountability that there. It doesn't seem like we're in the right place, like we are certain ourselves properly, because we're having accident at a time when we're about to possibly go into a state of war in Guyana. So, it's a really tough time. It's a tough conversation to be having right now. It's really heart wrenching to see something of this nature happening at this time and not think that Venezuela may have had a hand in it. But I guess we have to wait and see how it plays itself out and what the investigation reveals.
Thank you so much, Attorney at Law Shellen Washington. Echo coming, I believe, from Mr. Caesar's side. But good evening to all of you who are now joining us. And I know you guys are praying for beautiful Guyana. Lots of folks have said that they're just not in the mood to go to Guyana to celebrate any Christmas, any holidays, nothing at all. They are just not in the mood. Mr. Caesar, let's get your opening remarks, please, on the passing of these five military officers along with the surviving soldiers. And we're glad that these two members have survived. But let's get your take, sir.
Yeah. Mark, first of all, I want to start off by giving my deepest sympathy and condolences to the families of the five heroes that would have perished in this helicopter crash. Now, Mark, we could look at it, and Shalon did point out that, it can be, Venezuela, but there's some other things that we can also look at. The fact is that, how well was this chopper maintained? I don't know what the army budget looks like, but I haven't heard anything across Parliament that they have budgeted anything substantial to the Guyana Defense Force, and that's something that needs to be addressed. We don't know how often, again, this chopper has been maintained. I know it's an older one. We don't know if it was second hand, third hand, or fourth hand. So it can be simply, equipment failure that would have caused this to happen. But I still want to thank God, for saving the life of those two soldiers. Because, Mark, when you look across Guyana from a holistic perspective, all that is happening is that we are losing all the time. We're not gaining anything. It's just loss. It's just sadness. It's just darkness all the time. And it needs to come to an end at some point. Look, we're at Christmas time, and look what we're dealing with. This is very, very indeed sad. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Caesar. Appreciate it. 14 minutes after 9 o'clock in Guyana. If you're now joining us, good evening and welcome to Straight Up. One of the things that I want to point out that I really do want to, and any sensible government would go in this direction. The five members have passed away. They are going to be buried full honors, military honors, probably state funeral as well. Um, yeah, which is a good thing. I just as I was about to sign in when I get the indication from Lemon, I was looking at this lieutenant's facial expression, and Miss Washington, you can see what's happening there, as well as Mr. Caesar. You guys can see what is happening there. This is Lieutenant Crawford. The pain on his face. He is lieutenant. If I had my way, this lieutenant would have already been promoted to full colonel. Full colonel would have been promoted, not just to crocodile tears and go and smile or just hug the family members, as what we see some of those politicians have done there today. Those meaningless politicians. This lieutenant would have been promoted on the spot to colonel, full colonel. I am almost certain that not only has he survived, he tried his best, he along with his colleague, to see what could have happened. We don't know the circumstances, but this lieutenant ought to be promoted. Also, what should have happened on the spot is Corporal Dwayne Jackson should have also been promoted to lieutenant. This is what should have happened as of today. It didn't happen, but we're glad that they are alive. There were a bit of a mix-up yesterday whether Lieutenant Crawford has had passed away or not. We are glad that that is fake news. We are glad that that is false news as a result of the installed PPP regime wasn't doing what they were supposed to have been doing, which is feed the public and the family with proper and accurate information. So we'll step away from that for a moment. And we want to touch on this 1 month tax bonus, this 1 month so-called, this tax bonus that the regime is talking about. It says for members of the discipline services. And this is what is surprising. And they're partying, they're celebrating this year. For the first time, that's according to what the PPP regime is saying, for the first time, the bonus will also be paid to civilian employees of the GDF. Civilian employees of the GDF. You're not hearing civilian employees of the Guyana Police Force, but civilian employees of the GDF. Ms. Washington, your take on this 1 month tax-free bonus?
I guess it's coming at a really critical time in Guyanese history. Because if you look at the date on that, it says today's date. I think it's probably one of the ways they're attempting to motivate the military, because a tax-free bonus probably will go a long way for a lot of Guyanese who are struggling at this time, and the government has been neglecting their responsibilities to the people of Guyana, much less to the disciplinary force. I don't believe the government has done anything for the disciplinary services from the time they stepped into office to now. I think this is a first that they're actually attempting to do anything, which is really nothing, because it's just 1 month tax-free bonus and that's it. And then after that, members of the discipline service have to wonder, where do they go from here? And right now, the government of Guyana need the discipline service. They need their support. They need them to go out there. As a matter of fact, I'm surprised the government is not asking people to sign up voluntarily to serve in the military at this critical time in our history. This is one time in history I'm seeing a president who is just sitting idly by and don't have a set plan except to use their ally. If the United States don't step in, only God knows what will happen to the people of Guyana. And I think this is just a way to scam and to give the military or the discipline services the idea or the concept that the government actually cares about them by giving them nothing and calling it something, because this is really nothing. And to the civilian employees of the GDF also, I'm not sure what benefit that might be to them, because they only serve to support the disciplinary the discipline services. So I'm not sure of what benefit giving them a tax-free bonus would serve, but it's something, even though it's really nothing. That's what I would say.
Something, but really nothing. It's just a Christmas something to make it appear as though they are doing something in the corrupt PPP regime. Mr. Caesar, as we focus specifically on the 1 month tax-free bonus, your take, sir.
Well, Mark, let's first start off by saying, the discipline services are grossly underpaid. Okay, they are grossly underpaid. So a 1 month tax-free bonus does absolutely nothing for them. And Shailan is correct. She says it's something, but essentially it's nothing. And that's what it equals to. And tax-free means, come on, please. I don't know where the PPPC is going with this. It does absolutely nothing for these individuals. Mark, it is totally immaterial in nature, just based on how grossly they are underpaid. If you're underpaid and you're receiving a bonus, it's not going to be a substantial bonus because you're underpaid, right? So, and it's only for 1 month. So this does nothing. It's not even a drop in the pan. It's nothing. And, they're going to talk about, probably they're going to aggregate it up across all the soldiers and say, okay, it costs us 1 billion or it costs us whatever. You're looking at the aggregate. You need to look at the breakout. When it's broken out, it does absolutely nothing for the individuals. These are men and women, Mark, who put their lives on the line every day for a nation. Some of them doesn't even have a piece of land, but they put their lives on the line for a nation that they are not even stakeholders in, because they own absolutely nothing. And it's a shame. And I'm sure this is only happening in Guyana. So this install, I don't even want to call them a government anymore, install group of crooks, is not tricking us here. And it's shameful that our military have to go through this, Mark, especially in a time of crisis. You're going to come with a 1 month tax-free bonus. Come on, they got to come better than that, Mark. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much indeed. And good night to all of our listeners. If you're now joining us, the entire Guyana, they're in mourning. The loss of lives, 5 military officers. 2 of those officers have survived. They are currently seeking medical attention or getting medical attention, and we pray for a speedy recovery. But also the loss of a very popular cricketer by the name of Clyde Butts. He's an off spinner. For those of you who are into cricket, he played for Guyana. He also played for the West Indies. Clyde Butts. I do recall Mr. Butts as a little guy. I was growing up, and just basically we heard these guys playing and representing Guyana and so forth. And we want to take this time out to say condolences to the family members of Mr. Butts and his friends, his colleagues as well. We want to move on now to this other piece of item. 6.5% salary increase for public sector workers. Billions of dollars, billions upon billions of dollars from oil revenue. And just a little drop in the bucket for public servants. Little drop, public sector workers, a little drop in the bucket. Ms. Washington, let's hear your take, please, on this little drop.
I think this little drop is coming at a time when they would like to pacify the people of Guyana. It's an ugly time to be offering people nickel and dime when really the government should be seeking to strengthen the economy, strengthen the people's faith by ensuring that the people of Guyana, the public servants, they're well taken care of. I think, we take the things that we take for granted, it comes back to haunt us because the government of Guyana been using billions of dollars, taxpayers' dollars, money that belonged to the people of Guyana. We saw them making, the last time I was on this show, they made the seventh withdrawal of those funds, and yet they're just now coming to offer the people of Guyana, the public sector, 6.5% increase. Now, we see that there's inflation. We know that the cost of living is gone way more than the 6.5% because I've seen the cries of the people on Facebook. I've seen the cries on social media. So I know that the pressure is on in Guyana. It's on all over the world. It's on in the United States, in England, in every single country. So we know what is happening, and we know by a long shot the salary for public servants has always been on the bottom, the very bottom of the scale, because the people who are really reaping the money is the ones in parliament, the ones who are serving in government positions. But when it comes to the teachers, the ordinary public servant working in the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Education, as the regular employee, not as the ministers, they're the ones who are feeling the pressure right now. And then to come and offer them 6.5% increase, given that the increase that they're usually given doesn't substantiate or it doesn't equate or balance out for the cost of living, it's a disrespect. And I think Miss Hazel, Hazel Johnson, who's commented here on this show, she's saying she don't know why there's no confidence motion right now in Parliament, because the things that are going on in Guyana at this time, the people of Guyana, if they wake up, they will remove the current administration because they're a risk to the people of Guyana. They're not serving to secure the people of Guyana future or their current position. So they need to be removed. And offering 6.5% salary increase to the public service to pacify people at this time, I think is disrespectful, because it's not like an ongoing thing where they always ensure that the public servants' salaries are increased annually by at least 10% or something to equate to what is going on with the economy. All right. So I don't agree that this is going to do anything to help the public sector workers in any much of a way at this time.
Certainly wouldn't do anything at all. 27 minutes after 9 o'clock. Good evening to all of you who have just joined us. We'll take a quick break before we ask Mr. Wayne Caesar to respond to this 6.5% salary, as Mr. Wayne Caesar can probably give us his perspective as a public accountant. What is his take on this 6.5 salary increase? We'll be right back.
Oh, Jesus Christ. If cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You got to get about $40,000 for buy good ration. You got to get 3 man now. A weekend man, a monthly man, and a fortnight man.
I saw the smile on Miss Washington's face. However, we will move on and go to Mr. Wayne Caesar. Your take, please, on the 6.5 salary increase, sir.
Well, Mark, when I look at a 6.5 salary increase for public servants, I see what incentive is there for young Guyanese to want to become public servants. First of all, Mark, let's start off. They're underpaid also. Shalon would have just said it. Cost of living, inflation. Cost of living and inflation supposed to have a direct relationship with one's salary. 6.5% is not even close to being adequate. Shalon said 10%. That's a nice start. I feel we need to be somewhere between 15 and 17%. And if we really want to be nice, 20%. And just cap it there, that would keep, our public servants safe for a few years, considering cost of living, and inflation. But Mark, when you're dealing with the PPPC, and Ashley Singh should be ashamed of himself to announce such a thing. He should be totally ashamed of himself. But we know who is behind everything, and we can also look at this in a sense of, this is discrimination, because when you look at public servants across the board, who do you see? Who do you see? Mark, this thing really, really have to stop. The public servants in Guyana, they need to be treated with some measure of respect. And we don't see that. They're not given credit for the work that they put in, and this is ridiculous. 6.5% at Christmas time. I would faint away. I'm sorry. I am sorry. This is not even close to being adequate enough, Mark. 6.5%. Now, for the regular public servant, Mark, this is immaterial. Where it becomes material is when we get up to the top tier. When we talk about like a Donald Ramatar, a Ashni Singh, a Irfan Ali, a Jack Dio, if they had said that, they're giving a 6.5% raise for just the public servants and not themselves, I'll be like, oh, look at these guys, man. They are really trying to come. Although I know that 6.5 is not adequate enough. But Mark, they never leave themselves out. You understand me? And they are the ones who seek to gain from all of this, not the regular Mary and Joe on the ground. It is the PPPC and their inner circle that will gain from this 6.5% raise for public servants. And it's a shame. Like I said, Mark, the Guyanese people are getting absolutely nothing. This government is just sucking them dry. Over to you, sir.
No, thank you so much, Mr. Caesar. Hopefully on your show this weekend, we can do a proper breakdown and of the public servants, public sector workers, their pay and so forth. And so that our people, our listeners can get a better understanding as to what this 6.5% will do, if anything at all, for the people. I was hoping to have the former Minister of Finance on with us to do that breakdown, but I trust that Mr. Wayne Caesar will have some time to get the salary scale of public sector workers in Guyana and to show the listening audience that the 6.5 really does absolutely nothing to the people. Miss Washington, and before we get to Miss Washington, let me just announce that apart from cricketer Clyde Butts passing away, we just got some news that Joe Solomon also passed away. Another cricketer, and Joe Solomon, originally from Port Morant on the current team. Joe played 14 of 15 tests, led by the first black captain of the West Indies cricket, that is Sir Frank Worrell, between 1960 and 1963. So Joe Solomon passed away today. Clyde Butts passed away today. And the people of Guyana have just gotten this disrespect from the installed PPP regime of a very insignificant salary increase of 6.5%. Ms. Washington, why is it that people sit down and allow this sort of impasse in Guyana? Why?
I think one of the things is, and I've been saying this repeatedly on the show, is people have become comfortable with being treated a certain way. So things has been happening a particular way for a very long time. And so they become used to that. So when something is blatant, it's disrespectful, it's happening in their faces, a lot of times they need somebody to point it out. There's a lot of times when we're blinded to things. We don't see it because it's been happening It's been a long time. Our parents, our grandparents, they've all endured it. So we came into the system, and this is what we've become used to. That we were told that public servants are underpaid, they don't get paid much. And so people get into the system and they've accepted this and they've become comfortable with it. And until people start pointing it out to them and say, well, hey, this isn't right. You're basically getting a slave wage. You're being treated not much higher than a slave, because this is what you're getting, pennies for the labor, for the hard work that you're doing. This country runs on your back. If public servants didn't know, Guyana runs on their back. They do all the groundwork for the administration. They do all the most important things in the country. Like for instance, teachers. They teach our children. The members, the people who work in the different ministries, they do all of the hard work for the minister. And yet they're underpaid, and yet they're comfortable. Why are they comfortable, Mark? Because this is what they've become used to. They've seen it from generation to generation. So nobody sees it as something that is wrong or disrespectful, because why would they? This is normal in a third world country like Guyana, or a developing country, because the third world concept was abolished, but they've become so used to it. So now people are pointing it out to them. It's up to people in Guyana to recognize you're not being treated any much different from a slave, and to rise up and to take back their control of power. Tell the president, tell the minister that this is insignificant. It's not enough for your labor. And until you get out there and strike, which most countries do, most developed countries, if the employees, the public servants are not being paid fair wages that matches to the time or the cost of living, they strike. But Guyanese, somehow, public servants hardly strikes.
Hardly strikes indeed. The people are, for the most part, in Guyana, they are afraid to speak out, to go out and protest. I hope the union leaders can also come out, finally call their workers out. Long gone are those days when the union leaders can call their workers out to strike, dung tools, and say, that's it. GPSU, Guyana Teachers Union, Guyana Trades Union Congress, and all those unions call the people out to strike. Mr. Wayne Caesar, why do you suppose people are just accepting these things and not striking back?
Mark, I want to say this. If they're going to strike, it has to be well orchestrated. It has to be across the board. You cannot come out and strike for one day. Okay? Movement of traffic, movement of everything must be stopped. Bridges must be blocked. All the wake pots, the wedding pots and everything, we cook in the street. We do everything right in the street. You know? That's the kind of protest. Not come out and do it for one day. You come out, you do it for one day, you risk everybody getting fired when they go back to work. Or a lot of people getting fired when they go back to work. You just shut everything down and let the government come to the table. You know, Mark, and we've been seeing this with this installed government. They've been trying to bypass the unions and go and do the negotiation, the collective bargaining by themselves, you know, directly with teachers. You know, that is ridiculous. You know, that is ridiculous, and it shouldn't happen. It's because of those types of behaviors. That's why you can see a 6.5% raise being placed up there for public servants. And for those teachers that would have went and sat down with the government, shame on you. This is what you get when you do not allow your union to do the job. Shame on you. You should go as one collective unit. You're going to strike, everyone strike. Nurse is going to strike, everybody strike. Just leave minimal, you know, individuals on the job to take care of the patients, which is important that the patients be taken care of. But Mark, this installed government, as you know, they've crossed the line now, man. They've crossed the line. Look at our nurses. Look at the Georgetown Public Hospital. Look at the condition of that institution. Look at it. It is so unkept. It is just disrespect after disrespect. This government is transactional. It does not care about our institution. It does not care about the services that normal Guyanese receive. Look at GWI. Look at GPL. And the government is doing absolutely nothing. These are the issues. These are the things that people got to understand that they vote to and vote for. You don't go there and be arrogant and vote race. You're doing absolutely nothing for yourself or country. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. 40 minutes after 9 o'clock. I noticed that there's a comment from a Tariq. Tariq has always it's become more of the mouthpiece now. Everything seems to be good for folks like Tariq. But a 6.5, when you equate the salary or salaries of folks in the US, New York, and so forth, and people in Guyana who are getting 200 US per month, 300 US per month, I'm wondering whether these apologists can survive on 300 US a month in Guyana, 400 US a month. To compare that to the people who are getting a salary in New York City, let us say for an increase of 6.5 is a heck of a lot. I guess you got to basically do the math instead of oftentimes trying to be an apologist for the corrupt, racist PPP regime. But we'll always find individuals as such. Ms. Washington, are you at all surprised that the PPP regime is suddenly talking about Guyana National Reserve? They condemned it when the PNC instituted, when they introduced this SARI. They condemned the National Service, everything they condemned. But suddenly now they're talking about Guyana National Reserve and calling on people to join. Your take?
I'm not surprised at all. I did mention earlier, I would be surprised if they were not calling on people to join the reserve right now, because we're at a very critical point in our history. And if the government was doing this long before now, we wouldn't need to do this because we would have secure people's enlistment into the Guyana National Reserve for a time like this. But I think it's a little bit kind of late to be trying to get people to enroll, because at this point, what are you going to do with reserve? They have to be trained. They have to know what they're about. So if the government even intend to enlist people at this point and put them in the battlefield, then that's very treacherous. And I mean, at this point, if I were a young person in Guyana and saw that the government is seeking for people to join the National Reserve, I certainly would not accept that invitation. I wouldn't even attempt, because at this point, that is putting you in the position to die, because you would literally have no training and you'll be forced to go fight a war which you would not be equipped to engage in battle at this point. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. They do need the support of the Guyanese people. They do need additional soldiers to join. So, if you do join the reserve, I'm pretty sure you'll be pushed straight into the battlefield if something were to go wrong at this point. And I foresee, with the force at which Venezuela is going, it looks like there's about to be war. Unfortunately, I mean, somebody has to say it, but that's where we look like we're going. So I would not encourage any young person at this point to join Guyana National Reserve. No, sir.
All right. I see there's a comment from a Minerva is saying that what the PPPC is saying, that it's the first time that they're giving bonus to civilians working as the Guyana Defense Force offices. Somebody's saying that Minerva sorry is saying that it's all lies that the PPP is saying, because bonus as a civilian worker, that she received bonus in 1984. we've got to be very mindful of some of these individuals who are here to divert attention, because anytime you see someone is sucking up to the PPP regime, like we see some of the comments there, it is because they get something personally to gain from that, some investment, something. And so they got to do all of these antics to suck up. We don't deal with sucking up at all. But Mr. Caesar, your take on, and suddenly the PPP is embracing Guyana National Reserve and they want people to join. And the very people that they're targeting are the people that they have insulted, that they've called hungry belly dogs and all manner of things. They want these folks to join so that they can protect the interest of the corrupt members of the Guyana, the PPP, drug lords and money launderers and gold smugglers. That is what they want these young men, who they oftentimes describe as hungry belly dogs, to protect them. Your take, Mr. Caesar.
Okay, Mark. So in joining the Guyana National, quote unquote, the Guyana National Reserve, I would ask myself the first question: what's the incentive for joining the Guyana National Reserve? Do I have a plot of land somewhere? Do I have something in Guyana? Because I'm going to be going to the forefront, right? Possibly, as Shellan said, when you go and you train, you enlist and you train and everything, they can send you right out into battle. I'm going to be going out and risking my life there for what? I need to be a stakeholder. I need to be defending something. And also, what does the stipend / salary looks like? You're talking about people's lives here. These people can't go on the front line and say they defending Irfan Ali, Jack Dio, and all of them, and his Mohammeds and them got the big guns. Send the guys with the big guns to the front line. Why are you asking the poor people to enlist in the National Reserve, putting them up front? You understand me? In danger while you guys stay in the back, but you're the guys who are lining your pockets with everything, and ripping the Guyanese people out of all the revenues that they're getting, whether it's oil, gold, whatever the case may be. So I don't see any incentive for Guyanese to join the Guyana National Reserve. I don't see any incentive.
Absolutely nothing at all. It's trickery on the part of the corrupt, racist PPP regime. Ms. Washington, we'll take a quick break, and when we return, I want to ask a question about Bharrat Jagdeo again. I know I've asked that question in the past, but Bharrat Jagdeo, obviously from what he has been saying, seemed to have struck a deal with Venezuela. We don't know, but the evidence suggests just that. We'll be right back.
Yeah, my name is Jasmine Caldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my X next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
And well said, if they have to lose by one vote, they will lose it by data. Ms. Washington, I'd like for you again and for our listeners to listen carefully what Jagdeo had to do, or what he said, as it pertains to sharing Essequibo with Venezuela. It is treasonous. He should be behind bars right now.
You could probably, on the maritime area, give Venezuela a channel out to the sea. So you make a slight concession in the maritime area.
But a slight concession, he's running away from that. And because there are folks in Guyana who are reminding folks every day that that is how Bharrat Jagdeo, unpatriotic, he wanted to sell out or give away a piece of Venezuela by this so-called working relationship with Venezuela to benefit from Essequibo. And he's upset about that because people are saying that he is the reason why Guyana is what it is right now. And Maduro is misbehaving. That madman, no different than Jagdeo, is misbehaving. But what is your take on Jagdeo getting vexed about this and even threatening to sue Cathy Hughes, whom he called a lowlife, for saying that he wanted to give away Essequibo to Venezuela? Your take from a legal standpoint.
What I think happened here, this is what we would call an admission, because he is publicly admitted that he wanted to give Venezuela a concession. And one must question at this point Why would somebody who was once the president and is now the vice president of Guyana would come out and publicly say that they wanted to give Venezuela a concession? And then why is Venezuela now, after entering into an agreement with the people of Guyana, with Guyana in 1899, to allow this issue to be settled? That agreement basically settled this issue. So now you got to ask yourself, why is Venezuela's desire to terminate an agreement that was, willingly settled? The parties willingly entered into that agreement back in 1899. But why is the president of Venezuela now saying that the agreement is null and void when it was properly executed by past president? But now he's declaring it. And I think part of why he's declaring it to be null and void is because of something Bharrat Jagdeo might have said. Maybe he saw that public comment that Bharrat Jagdeo made, and he agreed with Bharrat Jagdeo that he's entitled to that concession. Maybe Bharrat Jagdeo gave the impression that that agreement wasn't valid, because if Bharrat Jagdeo agreed with the 1899 if the arbitration award, then Bharrat Jagdeo would not come and make a comment like that. He would say it was settled between the two countries years ago, and there's no need for Venezuela to come at this point and say that it's entitled to have any part of Guyana. Venezuela has its own oil. Why would Venezuela come now and fight for something that was clearly Venezuela government had agreed at that point that they're going to settle this dispute between themselves and the Guyana to allow Guyana to have its portion of land for itself? And suddenly this entire desire arose out of nowhere. It must have arisen out of something Bharrat Jagdeo would have said, because he have publicly declared that he wanted to give Venezuela a concession. We do not know if he had a conversation at some point with the president of Venezuela. We don't know, but we can infer from what we've seen him saying publicly, and there's no repercussion for that. He can't sue anyone because he has publicly come out and said we could give Venezuela a concession on the maritime side. And he know what the word maritime mean. He mean to give him a concession on the part of the water, maritime reference water. So he knows what he's talking about. He's not a dummy. So we know Bharrat Jagdeo must have done something to come out and publicly make such a comment and feel comfortable about it. And then to see the president of Venezuela, just all of a sudden, this need arises. They revive the entire thing to dispute that agreement. So now they're declaring that the agreement is null and void. They have no respect for it anymore.
Yeah, I one thing though that I'll disagree with you. I understand what you're saying when you say he's not a dummy. He's not a full-fledged dummy, but he does have what it takes to be described as a dummy. But Miss Washington, before we head back to Mr. Caesar, as we look at our time, this particular statement here, just imagine if a judge asks, or of course this will be presented as the evidence in court this year.
You could probably, on the maritime area, give Venezuela a channel out to the sea. So you make a slight concession in the maritime area.
So a judge listening to that there, your take, please, ma'am.
There is no way that Bharrat Jagdeo could tell any court that he did not intend to give up, I would say, portion of the land that belonged to Guyana to Venezuela. Because as you know, a country, the way they demarcate it, it goes out to a certain point in the sea. So if you're saying you're going to give Venezuela a channel on the maritime side, you're admitting publicly that you intend to give Venezuela a portion of the land that involves maritime area, part of the sea that consists or considered part of Guyana. There's no way around this. This is a clear admission of what he intended to do, or what he probably already had a conversation with the president of Venezuela to do, because we could only infer from what we've heard him publicly saying. And he cannot call anybody a dummy or anything else or a low life because he put himself in this position by making that statement publicly. There's just no way around it. No judge, if he appeared before any judge, he cannot tell the judge that no, this is not what he meant. You say what you mean and you mean what you said. You said it publicly. So there's no other way to interpret that statement but Bar Jagio making a public admission that he wanted to give up part of Guyana to Venezuela. There's no way else to interpret that statement.
Absolutely no way out to interpret that statement. Sorry. Many folks in Guyana are attributing that statement to what the many problems that they're faced with, including the deaths of those 5 military officers, that because of what Jack Deere may have promised them. We have seen the evidence on that tape. He was willing to share a piece of Essequibo with Venezuela, to share the profits with Venezuela. He said it, nobody else. Mr. Caesar, your take on how dangerous that statement is, sir?
Well, first of all, Mark, to me, it is treasonous. It is not just dangerous, it's extremely dangerous. And here is where I have the problem. We have an opposition which comes together with the ruling party that equals to a government. If you have a government, Mark, how can one man make such a dangerous statement, right? That's a demonstration of absolute power. And that is one of the things that I have been complaining about. How can one man be allowed all this power? This is totally ridiculous, Mark. And listen, when you're going to say something like that to a dum-dum like Nicolas Maduro, what do you think he's going to internalize and analyze? He's going to say, oh, so they know that this place actually belongs to us. And that's why he's going to come back now, Mark, and try to say that Essequibo belongs to Venezuela because Bharrat Jagdeo would have kicked down that door. And what Maduro did, he just walked right through it. And that's a problem. No single man, Mark, cannot go out and say that Essequibo is for sale without the permission of the people of Guyana. And that is exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened with Bharrat Jagdeo. He should be nowhere near government. Nowhere. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wayne Caesar. Mr. Caesar will be on his show 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And right here on 107.1 FM, Miss Shellon Washington will have her show as well, The Law and You, starting, I believe, at 4 o'clock tomorrow, Miss Washington. Yeah, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which will be 5 o'clock Guyana time. Miss Washington, looking at the time, I just want to give you that opportunity for your closing remarks, please, ma'am.
Yes, absolutely. It's always a pleasure to be here. Mark, thank you so much for having me. Thanks to all you listeners out there who've joined us tonight. And I hope I'll see some of you tomorrow on my show, The Law and You, at 4 p.m. Thank you so much, guys. And I hope you guys continue to advocate with us also. We're continuing to pray for Guyana. We know that Guyana's been messed up by having the wrong people given the power to lead that country. But we do hope for the best to come out of this. We do know Guyana face an army with a magnitude of people. We do know the population in Venezuela way outnumbers the population in Guyana. So we know and we're aware that what we're facing here, it's no ordinary task. It's nothing easy, but we're going to keep Guyana in prayers, and we're going to hope that with the intelligence of the Army of the United States, we have Trinidad backing us. We have a whole lot of allies who are going to stand up with us against the giant we face. And as we know, based on the Bible, David killed Goliath. David was a very, very small child, and he did kill Goliath. So we're praying that in this situation, David will conquer Goliath indeed. So thanks again, guys. And I want to say heartfelt thank you to all of you who continuously support my business out in Brooklyn. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate you, and have a good rest of your weekend. And I'll see some of you tomorrow at 4 p.m.
Thank you so much, Miss Washington. I'm still awaiting my invitation for your staff party. One of your staff members said that I was banned from your office for a week. I'm not sure, but hope to get that invitation so that myself and Wayne and Gavin and Francine and the whole crew could be down at your office to celebrate the holidays and probably to get a bonus too, a 6.5% bonus. Mr. Caesar, please, your closing remarks, sir.
Yeah, Mark, my closing remarks to Guyanese is to say that, Guyana may seem to be in a very dark place at the moment, but, we have to continue to hold our frontal position as a people. Light is coming soon. We will see the light soon. Every day we're getting closer and closer, to elections. I want the Guyanese people to continue to hold out hope. It's about time also that the religious organizations, like Shalon would have said, put their energies together and pray for the country. The country needs a lot of prayers. They should dedicate maybe a day, maybe Friday, a day of fasting and praying. Not everyone has to fast, but those who are capable of fasting can fast and pray for the country. And to all Guyanese and the public servants, I know that 6.5 was nothing, but I can tell you this. With a new government, there's definitely better days on the horizon. To all Guyanese, all 6 ethnic groups, you guys are seeing what is happening across Guyana under this government. And I know come 2025, you guys are not going to get amnesia. So I am believing that there will be a change in government come 2025, because in order for Guyana to move forward, the PPPC must be removed. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wayne Caesar. And again, guys, you can join Wayne right here on 107.1 FM tomorrow, 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will be 6 p.m. Guyana time. Go out in your numbers and watch and listen to Mr. Wayne Caesar tomorrow. Miss Shalon Washington, attorney at law, will be there tomorrow as well from 4 o'clock, 4 p.m. Miss Shalon Washington. What are you dealing with tomorrow? Divorce again? If it's divorce, I know Brenda, Francine, Brenda Casey, Brenda Braithwaite, Cheryl, all these people are going to be there, including Keith Beresford. They love this divorce talk, But what are you dealing with tomorrow, Miss Washington?
Divorce is always a hot topic. I think a lot of people like ways of retaining or protecting their assets. So, yeah, I want them to come. It's going to be a surprise, so I don't want to really reveal. So I want you guys to be there.
Once
You're
it's
going to
gonna
find
be
out when you get there. We're going to be
once-
talking about.
Once it's a surprise, I wouldn't be surprised if you're dealing with tenant landlord, right? We get kicked out for winter time, right? All right, good. But we'll be there, we'll be watching. But thank you as always, Miss Washington. Also, thank you, Mr. Wayne Caesar. Appreciate it, and God bless you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Good night, everyone.
All right, and here's where we just have to pull the curtains down. Cheryl Pension, I see that 33 years ago is a long time. Let me just thank all of you as you continue to pray for Guyana. And be careful when you pray too, right? Because if you keep praying and praying, they're going to keep robbing you while you pray. Because people like Jack Deere, they prey on you when you pray. If you know what I mean, the P-R-E-Y on you when you P-R-A-Y. So be careful when you're praying. Don't close all your eyes because they're going to pick your pockets. They're a bunch of robber men and women in the PPP hierarchy, the PPP regime. That is what they do, a bunch of vagabonds. And it is sad that we are going through what we are currently in Guyana as a result of these demonic people Jack Dew and Irfan, demonic people who are in office. They're punishing people across the board. Regardless of who voted for them or not, they're punishing those people as well. And I've got to go. For those of you who extended, your warm words to me concerning today marked that anniversary of my eldest son who passed away December 8th, 2002, while I was languishing in the Camp Street prisons on a trumped up treason charge in solitary confinement. Thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. His name was Rajiv. And those were the good times indeed. The other thing before I close off is this lieutenant should be promoted to full colonel. And, he should have already been promoted to full colonel. Also, his colleague, Corporal Dwayne Jackson, should be promoted to lieutenant. And all of you will be promoted to the front of the class right here on 107.1 FM. God bless you all. God bless you. And whatever little trials and tribulations you might be going through at this point in time, our prayers are with you as well. And if you've lost your loved ones, condolences to the entire family. And for those of you celebrating your birth anniversary, happy birthday to all of you who are celebrating your birthday, especially Rhonda Lane. And I believe Melly Mel is also celebrating her 72nd birth anniversary. Happy birthday, 72nd birth anniversary to Melly Mel, and 63rd birth anniversary to Rhonda Lane. God bless you all. So long.